Welcome, everyone, to Influential Leadership Tips. My name's Dave Miller.
And I'm John Hadley. Dave, I was reading an interview with Bernardo Hees, sorry. He's the CEO of 3G Capital, which owns Kraft Foods and Heinz and Burger King, a lot of other major things. And he was asked about becoming CEO at a very young age. And he said, we normally think of CEOs as the people who have the answers, right? I think CEOs are the ones that have the questions. If you can provide the right framework and questions, the consumers, clients, customers, factory managers, supply chain, they have the answers. I think this feeds into some interesting things that we've talked about in the past. I think as a lot of times as a leader, we feel we need to have the answers. We need to be right. It's almost like there's a failure if I don't have the answers. And that's not necessarily the right mindset. I think sometimes it's much more important that you have a way to get to the answers, that you ask really good questions, that you listen really intensely to people and understand their concerns, their motivations, and their ideas. And you kind of free up smart people to contribute effectively, because you hire smart people because they're going to add to the organization. So you want to take full advantage of that. So what do you think, Dave?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's definitely the case. And listening and asking questions are two really important skills that I know you and I value a lot. And most people, they're underdeveloped in those areas. So the more you can do that, the better it can be. Now, having said that, I think you almost want to look at this like asset allocation. In that, okay, those are great tools to have. That's important. Listening is really important, but there's also the strength.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
So anyway, getting back to my point, since you threw me off. So there's this asset allocation. For example, there's a CEO I know that is extremely soft-spoken and quiet. And I'm sure he's a really good listener. He asks good questions, things like that. But a lot of people don't know what he thinks about things.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. As a leader, you don't have to have all the answers, but you have to help the team get to the answer, and the team will look to you to make decisions. So there's time to be really a kind of the facilitator coach, and there's times to say, okay, leadership is needed. I'll give you another example. I'm working with a group of people, working with another leader in that group. And the approach has been to facilitate that group and give them a lot of ownership on what we're doing and things like that. When I did some assessing on them, they were not getting the importance of what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And really what was needed in that case is leadership. So rather than having them, coaching them and facilitate them formulating the answer, they needed us to give them an answer to react to.
Right.
So
like a straw dog.
So it's a balance. So yeah, you don't want to feel like you always have the answers. You're making all the decisions. You're just dictating what occurs. You're not leveraging, your smart people, like you said. So on the other hand, there's times where you need to step up and gather the information through listening and asking questions, and then saying, okay, let's make a decision. And if your team's not able to make that decision, you need to do it.
Right. So, there, as you say, there's the balancing act that if I just make the decision too soon, you may not support it either because you have questions, you have concerns. But if I give you ample time to air your concerns and share, and then it's appropriate for me to make the decision. And as long as you've been heard and I've asked good questions and we've had the good dialogue, you should respect my decision at that point.
Right. So it seems like the tip is to pay attention to that balancing act.
Mm-hmm.
work on your asset allocation, make sure there's a good balance there.
Yeah, so go out and do a little inventory on how much am I balancing this? Am I asking the really good questions? Am I really listening effectively? And am I also stepping up and making the decision when I need to?
Mm-hmm. All right. I love it.
So look forward to talking to you all next week.
And until then, be influential.